This one book fully changed the way I talk with people. We're speaking about You're Not Listening, and it is actually such a great book. I can't really express how much I love this piece of writing because it completely changed my life. It was probably the most impactful read that I have ever read in my life, and I have picked these 3 super important lessons that I've learned and that have completely changed the way I interact with people, so you can also start being a good conversation partner. So, without further ado, let's dive right into the first lesson that I have learned in this book and that you will learn in this video, and that is, are you really listening or just waiting to answer? Imagine a conversation with your friend. You know, they're probably telling you about a new puppy they've just bought. And they're telling you about how the puppy pooped in front of their front door. And I can see you. At that moment, you're like, oh my god, my dog did the same thing when he was the same age as their puppy is now. Like, I have to share this piece of information. But at this moment, when you're thinking about the fact that your dog did the same thing and about what you want to tell the other person, you're missing the fact that they're still talking and that they're still inserted many more important pieces of information. For example, that the new puppy actually, after it pooped in front of the front door, it also broke 10 glasses after that. Now, after they have said all these important things that you have not really comprehended because you were thinking about what you're gonna answer, it is your turn to speak. And you answer the answer you've made up in the middle of them speaking, and it's that your puppy did the same thing when they were the same age. But now, here's the problem. They can see that you are not listening because you're not reacting to those 10 broken glasses. You're not reacting to those many other things that they have mentioned. And honestly, that might make them feel a bit upset and maybe also a bit frustrated, because I believe that we all know this feeling when, you know, we're talking and we can see that somebody isn't paying attention to us, and then we say something that we thought was very important or very funny, or, you know, just a piece of information, a thing that we considered very important to the conversation, and the other person just ignored it. Like, at that point, I feel like all of us would just stop and be like, who am I talking to? Like, are they listening? Am I just talking to the wind? So the first lesson is just really about the fact that it is better to listen to the whole conversation. Listen to the whole thing, let the other person talk, and then react maybe more slowly. Like, you don't have to react as quickly as you can. You can just wait, you know, comprehend all the information the other person gave you, and then react. And I really found that mind-blowing and actually game-changing in the real life. But now, this also leads to the second lesson that might be even more important, and that is that we all have to learn how to accept silence. Because oftentimes people do this creating answers in the middle of other people speaking because they want to skip the silence when they would be thinking. You know, they want to start speaking so everybody's entertained and there is no silence. But the thing is that the silence actually has its place in a conversation between people. The interesting thing about it is that most people say the most interesting things when there is the silence, because they are also scared of it. And so the most beneficial thing to do is to use the silence to your advantage. You know, don't be scared of it. Don't try to fill it with something that you just blurt out. Just wait. You know, put your answer together, comprehend what the other person said, and you might also learn something that you wouldn't have learned otherwise if you haven't paid attention. So don't feel pushed by the silence. Use it in your advantage. Now, the third lesson, the final lesson, is probably the most important one. And I feel like it just, overall shows the message that we all should be carrying in our head. And this is actually something that I have created from my interpretation of the book and that I practice every day, and that is super, super beneficial for me. And that is, it's not about you. It is not. And I know that it's super hard because I also am such an oversharer. When I'm having a conversation with somebody, I want them to know everything that's going on right now in my life. Like everything. It doesn't matter if it's some amazing advice or some great memory that I've just recalled, or just a quick thought that I'm having right now. It doesn't matter. I just, as probably you, want the world to know. But here's the problem. If you're having a conversation with somebody, your goal should be not making it about you. Because the main thing about conversation is, in my opinion, after reading this book and after practicing the advice in the book, it's that you should be aiming to learn as much information from your conversation partner as possible. Because you know what you are thinking. You know your opinions, you know your points of views, you know what you lived through, you know all this stuff because it's in your head. But you don't know what the other person's thinking. You don't know a lot about other people, even if they're your family. And so the main thing, and I feel like it's sort of a mindset change, is that you should be aiming to learn as much as you can about the other person and find joy in that, because when I flipped that switch inside myself, my world and my conversations completely changed. Also, this reflects on your reactions, because if you say, when somebody's sharing that puppy story and they mention the puppy pooping in front of the front door, I hope YouTube won't punish my video for me saying the word pooping so many times. But it's a dog, like it's a puppy, they do that, so hope it's okay, whatever. If you're gonna react, it happened to me too, and you're gonna share your story, the other person might probably feel discouraged to share any more information because you took the spotlight away from them. And even if people don't seem like that, they actually love to be seen. And so if you flip the question and you instead ask, oh, how did you handle that? Was your dog okay? Or did you figure out why that happened? Just react and ask questions about that person. Bring the spotlight on them. That actually makes other people feel seen and much happier than if you would have turned spotlight on you. And also, and that is such a key lesson to learn, if you flip spotlight in conversation on the other person, it actually many times flipped the spotlight in the head of the person you're talking with, and sometimes even in the heads of other people at you, because you deliberately chose to listen to them. And people appreciate that. Guys, I am curious. Which one of these 3 lessons did you find the most impactful and the most useful? Did you learn anything else about listening to others from YouTube or your sources? I would love the comment section really to be this sort of place of knowledge and questions about this topic, because it is so interesting. I've done so much research in my past about this topic, and I would love to hear your knowledge in the comments. So go down there and share your knowledge, share your opinions, share your thoughts. And also, if you've already commented, you can click on the video that you can see right here somewhere on your screen. It was made just for you, literally. And also, it was picked just for you. So check that out, because I am sure you love it. It is amazing. So see you there.